All right, welcome to creating 4 symbols in Adobe Illustrator CC. So in this tutorial, we're going to cover how to actually go about creating a symbol, where they're actually located in Illustrator. And yeah, we'll figure out how to do these with some cool tools using the pen tool and the pencil tool. So you can see a few symbols here that I brought in directly from my library here. These are ones that come with Illustrator. What we're going to do is create our own symbol like this one here. I did the butterfly, this purple butterfly here, which this one is currently a symbol. And this leaf here is also a symbol, which is right here that I created. And some ferns, sort of like shrubbery here, is also one that I created. So, and then I have a fish here that I created also. And so each of those can become symbols very easily using the symbols palette here. Now we're going to create a new document because I'm going to go step by step on how to do this and show you how everything's done. So we're going to go File, New, and I'm going to choose a tabloid size, and we're going to do horizontal, and then click Create. And so it just gives me a lot of space here to work with. And I'm in the Essentials workspace, so if we click up here in the top, this little quadrant here, you can go to the Essentials workspace. This symbols palette that popped up here, I'm going to close it for a sec. You can open that up by going to Window and going down to Symbols. Basically everything in all the applications of Adobe is under the Windows, and Symbols is there. Once it pops up, you could dock it somewhere. I'm going to leave it floating here. And basically, you come with a few here. It's not much, but if you click on this little widget, this little, I call it the hamburger icon here, you can go down to Open Symbol Library, and there's a bunch of libraries here. And so under Nature, for example, you can see like butterfly, several insects, some different grass elements, leaves and spiders and so forth. And then all you can do is close out, and now you can simply drag them to the stage here and kind of see what they look like. So this will give you an indication of what someone else did for Illustrator, basically. What comes with the program here. Here's a bug. Here's some blade of grass, and here's a butterfly, for example. So what I'm going to do is we're going to start with our own. Again, we're creating our own symbols, so I'm going to delete all those. So what we're going to do is we need to find an image first, and I found on the internet, I just Googled fish. I found this image here. It's a little big, but it's okay. I'm going to scale it down. It's 1,000 by 1,800 pixels here. So what you do is you right-click, Save Image As, and then save it to a folder, wherever you want, right? And then in Illustrator, you don't do a copy and paste. What you do is you go File, and you go down to Place. Place is better for this project, but you got to be aware of the way Place works. You don't want to move the image outside the folder designation. So you want to make sure it's located in the same spot, essentially. Because next time you open up Illustrator, essentially it'll disappear. It'll be kind of unlinked. So here's the fish here, and I'm going to click Place. And it's saying that this is a web format which can be placed. It looks like I created the wrong format, which is fine. So I'll just find another image here. Go ahead and click on another one. This one here is a little bit smaller. Let's right click, Save Image As. It's a PNG, so that one should work, I believe. Let's see. And let's go back to Illustrator here. And we'll try that File Place command again. And let's see. It's this one here. Go ahead and place. There we go. And then I'm going to click in here. You can see it's a little big. I could scale it down however scale I want it to. Just make sure you hold the Shift key when you grab that corner to maintain proportions. Actually, I think it's okay where it's at. Now, in the Layers palette here, what we need to do is make this into a template. And the way you can do that is you double click on the layer, and then it opens up the layer options here. And you can click this little checkbox that says Dim Image To, and you can dim it to 100, how many percent you want. 50% is what I think is good. I just click OK. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to lock this layer, and then I'm going to add a new layer by clicking on the new layer icon down here at the bottom next to the trash can. And this will be the layer where I actually draw on. So the different tools we're going to use with is the pen tool, and then I'll show you how to use the pencil tool. Those are the two tools I like you to use for this project. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in a little bit here. And with the pen tool selected, I'm going to go ahead and basically draw out some shapes. So you can draw out however many shapes you want for this. You have to understand with symbols, the idea here is you want to simplify things, make it a little bit easier to basically make the image. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start in this corner here, and I'm clicking, and then I'm going to click and drag a little bit, and then I'll make a curve. You can see this little curve arc, and I'm holding the mouse down. I'm not releasing. Then I'm going to hold the space bar at the same time to reposition that just slightly, and I can kind of angle it a little bit more, just like this. And then once I release, I can come over here and click again, and then I can click and drag again. When you drag, you basically get these handlebars, and that creates the curved arc. Now, what's happening here is we're getting a filled shape. So what I could do is I could stop this right now, and I can do that by hitting Control-Shift-A or Command-Shift-A on a Mac. Go to my Properties tab and switch to No Fill, the red slash, and then give it a stroke of like a color black. And you're seeing it's not updating here, and that reason why is it's not selected. So if I start a new path, it's gonna remember those settings, but I have to select this thing here to change those settings. So I always like to click on it with the black arrow and then click in here and change the fill to the red slash, meaning it's transparent, and then click on the stroke and give it a stroke color. I'm actually gonna choose, instead of black, I'm gonna choose this, maybe this red, and I'm gonna up the stroke a little bit just so it's easier to see. I'll go to 3-point here. And then I'm gonna switch back to my pen tool, and then I can come over here and click on the end here. You'll see a minus once I click on it. And basically what that means is I can just keep adding to my selection here. So I'm just gonna come around and click, click, click. I'm just kind of coming around here and clicking and dragging a little bit. Now with this little lip part here, it's got a little lip part. I kind of want to exaggerate that a little bit more. So I'm just kind of repositioning again, holding the space bar down. Now I'm gonna show you an easier way to do this if you're very uncomfortable with the pen tool. So just hang in there for a sec. I'll show you with the next shape that I create here. But I want to show you with the pen tool in case you are interested in doing it. It is a very precise way of working. Again, nobody's really going to know for positive if this little loop here is a little bit backwards or forwards in terms of the direction of the fish. Now, instead of going to finish off the tail, I'm actually going to go in here, and I think I'm going to actually undo by hitting Control-Z to go back one step, and I'm just going to click here in the center here, and then I'm going to click on this little point, and then I'm going to click and drag to connect it. When I click and drag, it basically creates a little curve action there, and that ends my path. So again, if you like the pen tool, you can keep working this way and create new shapes. I'm going to also show you real quick how to use the pencil tool, which is with the paintbrush tool. So if you hold the mouse down on the paintbrush and go down to pencil tool, the way it works is if you draw around and then end, you basically create a path, a shape. And so you can do that, and that just saves you a little bit of time. It's a little bit tricky because you have to kind of nail it the first time. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to go past the shape a little bit, and the reason why you'll see in a moment here, I'm going to drag up. I'm basically creating this like shadow shape here. And then I'm going to end it before I go to the eye. So I'm just going to go to there. So it's something like that. Now I can then modify that shape using the white arrow tool. Any of these, remember these anchor points, if you want to move them, reposition them, you can modify them using the anchor points here. Yeah, so I might want to shrink that down a little bit there. But I think that shape's kind of okay. But now watch what happens. I'm going to select one of these and give it a fill of, say, I don't know, this blue, and then click on another shape and then give that one a fill of like, I don't know, this red here. So you can see we have two different shapes and they're overlapping. And what I want to do is I want to subtract this a little bit here, right? So I want the idea of this color to be contained in this shape here. So one way to do this is to use the shape builder tool. I'm going to show you how to do that real quick. I'm just going to drag over everything with the black arrow tool here. And then I'm going to click on the shape builder tool, which is this one here. It's got the hotkey of Shift M. And as you hover over everything, it'll have a little plus symbol next to the arrow. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold the Alt key, which will reveal a minus. And when I click here, it literally subtracts that little bit there. And that's how you basically create these shapes. So now I've got that shape created. So now I can come back and grab my pencil tool if I want to use that, or use the pen tool. I think I'll just use the pencil tool here. And I'll drag around here and create the little fin action here. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make sure I cover up and overlap the shapes a little bit. And then when I release, it overlaps there. And I'm going to manipulate this just a little bit. The shape isn't quite going where I want to go. So I just want to bring it down a little bit further with the white arrow. So I'm going to kind of bring this down a little bit. Something like this. Grab this handlebar here. This angle here is just not quite right. Now what's happening here is it's doing a little bit of snapping. If you're noticing snapping happening, you can go to view and turn the snap to point off, and that will help with that action. So this should now not snap as much. It still might snap a little bit, but yeah. Okay, I think that's good the way it is. So again, I'm going to select everything, and actually I should give this one it's just a little easier to see. I'll give this a fill color here. Say maybe this yellow. And I'll go ahead and select everything. Grab that shape builder tool again. And then as I hover over this, what I want to do is I don't want this stuff here to be here. Or actually, let's see. Yeah, I want to merge these two together. The blue and the yellow here, right? I want that shape to be consistent. So I click and drag from the blue to the yellow, and the yellow reveals. But if I go the opposite direction, the yellow to blue, it seems weird. Oh, that's interesting. Usually it goes the opposite direction, but that's okay. Basically, I want to merge these two shapes together. I can recolor it after. And then I want to merge these two, this little bit here and this bit. So I just drag across to merge those two. And then I have this as a separate element here. So now to isolate and change the colors however I want, you have to double click on the line. So I double click on this line, and I could change this to like a blue, say, right? And then I could double click on this outline here. And I can double click and go into isolation mode and give it a fill of, I don't know, a red. And then I could leave the tail yellow, for example, right? So whatever colors you choose, but basically we have these shapes all kind of drawn out. What we're missing is the eye here. Now, it's starting to be difficult to see, so what I did is I select everything here, and now I can click on, in the properties, the opacity, and drop the opacity. And that'll affect all the different colors in here. And so I still need an eye here. I still need a fin. So I'm going to drop that opacity just a little bit more here. Those are the two main elements. Maybe a line here, but I could probably do this with a brush later on. So I'll draw some eye and then the fin here real quick. So again, I'll just use that pencil tool because it's just a little faster. And I'll go ahead and draw a little fin thing here. Again, it's not as precise, the pencil tool. That's the problem, I guess. The pen tool would be a little bit more precise. Let me undo that for a sec and show you if I wanted to make this, really flare out and have a nice sharp point here. I'll kind of bring it up like this and then back down and then out a little bit. I don't know. I mean, it's your preference of whatever you want. I like this effect here. That looks kind of cool for that shape. And then I need to draw some shapes for the eye. So again, I could do that with the pencil tool. So I could draw a shape for the inner eye and a shape for the outer eye part. And then this part here, I'll draw a line later on with the brush tool. So these different shapes, I'm not going to subtract anything. Basically, I'm just going to add different colors. So at this point, I could select everything again. Or actually, let me click on this one. Let's determine some colors since we can kind of see through here. I'm going to click on this one and choose a fill of maybe a darker purple. And that would be cool for that. And then I'll click on this little shape here. This one, I'll go with a solid black. And then this one, I'll go with, actually, I think I'll leave that one purple too. And so now I'll select everything here and then bring the opacity back to 100%. And it looks like I accidentally selected all the colors for the other ones. So I have to recolor them, unfortunately. So I'll double click on this one and click in here and choose, I don't know, red for the fish. I think I had, and then the stripe here, I don't know, maybe the blue. And then the tail, I remember that one I had yellow. But we're going to end up recoloring all this stuff later on, so it doesn't really quite exactly matter. Now what's happening here is one object is behind the other, And we did this all on one layer, essentially, this one layer here. So what I need to do is bring the big eye behind the other eye. So I can right click on it, arrange, and send backward or back. So I'm just going to send it backward. And that's just one step, and now the eye is revealed. Now I can do the same thing here. I can right click on this, arrange, and bring to front, just to make sure that that tail there's clearly, that fin is clearly in front now. And basically that's it. Now I might add a little bit more detail with the line stuff. So I'm going to select everything again, go to my properties, and drop the opacity one more time here. I might just add a few lines here. So I'm just going to grab the brush tool here, which is a regular paintbrush, and I'm going to draw a line like right here. And I might add some fin lines here, just a couple of them here. Now I know these are very boring looking. We're going to make those look way more interesting later on. But that's pretty much it. And then I can now select everything again and increase the opacity to 100% and double click out. Now it looks like the line here is the same color. So I'll just change the color here of this stroke to something else. I don't know, maybe this purple or something. Later on we can change that up. But here, if you look at this, we essentially have the basics of a whole symbol. Now this is probably the most complicated one to do, which is a fish, unless you chose another more complicated animal. The butterfly is going to be a little bit easier to do if you do butterfly. I did, a little more complex butterfly here, but it wasn't too complicated. And then the leaves are going to be very easy to do, basically. Draw out the shape, and then the little lines, draw with the brush. And then the shrubbery here, I'll zoom in on it so you can see. I basically just use the pen tool. It's actually not that great looking. There's some of these corners I might round off later on. We'll talk about that, like finessing the shapes later on in another tutorial in the future. But basically this is it. It's just one big tutorial for this week.